Manx Radio's Countryside is brought to you by NFU Mutual.
Hello and welcome to the new series of Countryside here on Manx Radio. I'm Simon Clark.
And I'm Kirree Kermode. This week I popped along to Vicky and Neil Sloane-Masson's at Bolla Cricket.
And I caught up with the Minister for DEFA, Geoffrey, to find out how things have been in all of his departments during these trying times under the COVID. Well, Kirree, we're back in the studio on Countryside, a new series. Been off air for a while, but of course everyone knows the reasons why everyone's been segregated. But life on the farms still had to go ahead, didn't it?
It really did. It plodded along, and it's hard to believe that spring was done under closed doors and the start of summer as well. But now we have the freedom again, and it's nice catching up with everybody.
Yeah, and it's one of them things, isn't it? You know, a lot of the farms on the Isle of Man, the smaller ones, are only sort of run by the single farmer and maybe his wife, and they get a bit of help in. But it's been difficult. They've had to self-isolate with that. But a lot of the time there is room for space on the farm, isn't it? A lot of the tractor work, obviously you're in the tractor on your own, things like that.
That's right. Farming is quite an isolated job anyway, like you say, Simon. But it is tricky when the contractors had to come and plough the fields ready for the crops. You know, you weren't really allowed to talk to them or be close to them. And it was quite an atmosphere, and it was quite apprehensive as well. It was always the worry because farm workers cannot be replaced overnight, and it's not a skill that everybody has these days. Once upon a time, anybody could sort of turn the hand to farming, but maybe those days are long gone. But no, everyone pulled together and kept on going.
Yeah, and it's one of them things where you're talking to contractors, you can't really say to them when they've come back, no, you've done totally the wrong field there. I wanted you to do the other one. But of course it was the sort of lambing time. Still, people were still lambing at the start of it as well, weren't they?
That's right. March is a very busy time for lambing, and like you say, some extra help always has to be on hand, and it was hard for people to live separately or you know, minimise those risks and adhere to what the government was saying, and it did work. You know, it was hard at the time, but it was definitely worth it. Yeah,
and a lot of the it showed the I don't know, the pedigree of the Manx people in a way. We're renowned for the charity work we do over the years, you know, and when you looked at what happened and people were panic buying to start with, and sort of a lot of the old Manx people, get away with you, what are you panicking for? You know, we've got plenty here. And it showed, you know, the people with the little small market garden businesses just went out of their way and started delivering to people and making that extra effort and put a lot of work, and you just hope that people will stick by that.
You really do, Simon. They did step up to that challenge. All of the people in the countryside that were providing food, and the processes that went along with it, the bakeries, the meat plant, the creameries as well. Yeah, and in those environments, it's hard to separate and get the machines all working as normal. It was apprehensive and a lot of nervousness, but they did step up and deliver to the Manx people. And I hope people realise how important local produce is, and we need to keep these things happening on our island. Who knows what's around the corner? We didn't expect this in our time.
No.
And here we are. So important to buy local.
It is. Anyway, to find out more about, of course, the DEFA side of things, it's under the remit of Department of Environment, Food and Agriculture, of course, which does incorporate the forestry and the fishing and everything like that. So I thought, well, I'd get a hands-on approach, not literally, but with the Minister for DEFA, Geoffrey, to find out how things have been coping in his department. A nice change to be able to come and talk to somebody in this new series of Countryside. It's been a trying time for you and all the government departments, Geoffrey.
It has indeed, and thank goodness we've come through the crisis and we're now able to meet face to face. Social distancing gone because of the efforts that the Manx public have put in self-isolation and doing the right thing, and maintaining border controls has helped that, and we continue to do that. So long may it be so that we can meet. But it's been a long trying period. There were times at the beginning when we were really concerned about logistic chains, food supply. We had to do a lot of advanced planning in case that happened. Fortunately, it didn't happen, and we've been able to maintain the logistic chain, and also local production has filled some of the spots where there were deficiencies.
Really stepped up to the mark, a lot of people.
They have indeed, and the supermarket chains obviously maintain their logistic chains, but there were problems with people in isolation, with deliveries and things like that. Some businesses repurposed to do takeaway, but a lot of small businesses took on board the fact that they needed to deliver produce to people, and started collecting and delivering, and in some ways that they've done, I hope, reasonably well out of that, and there may be a future in terms of local resilience and the way things work, and I hope that there is a residual good come out of it in the longer term. But I have to say, our producers, farmers, have all stood up to the mark and done their bit, and that even includes our fishermen, who have been badly affected. Their market just fell away as the crisis unfolded, and we provided some grant aid to support the whole sector, but some of them have continued to fish, and they've developed a local market which wasn't there before, and I hope that continues, because the restaurant trade, now that it's back in business, really appreciate being able to buy local produce.
Because we're in the Queenie season now, I think, and I mean, where is the problem for the fishermen?
Well, I think that the fishing fleet as a whole has been hit by a lack of market. The king scallop season went really badly because they just couldn't sell the produce, and that's when we had to bring in the sector support. The Queenie season started. We've for once got reasonable stocks of Queenies, and we've done a survey with industry to look at what's out there, but the market is 40-50% less the price, wholesale price, than it was last year. So it's very difficult for fishermen to make a living at that level. We have another support scheme going to Tynwald next week, the week after, and I hope that will receive support which will maintain the sector going forward. It doesn't stop fishermen going out and fishing for the local market, which some are doing, but of course that doesn't replace the major wholesale markets that we normally supply.
The meat plant's been in the news as well. It's had a bit of resurgence on throughput.
Yes, they've done reasonably well with throughput. Initially, we weren't sure whether there was going to be a logistics chain, so we were being careful to manage stock and supply on island, but that didn't materialise. But on the other hand, people have been buying a lot more beef and a lot more lamb locally produced, and that's helped the meat plant with throughput. In fact, if you look at the figures at the moment, beef and lamb throughput, the meat plant are up considerably, and less exports than there were this time last year or the year before that.
And it's one of the industries where self-isolation on the farm for a lot of the farmers on the Isle of Man are working on their own a lot of the time, so they can't really stop, can they? They can't miss a crop, so they've soldiered on, but I suppose trying to get their produce sold it's the difficult bit again in the farming industry.
Well, obviously markets are important. The fisheries have really suffered from a lack of market, but in terms of meat production, most of it goes into the UK or locally, so that the initial fall in value didn't help, but that's recovered now. The farming community were very concerned at the beginning of the epidemic, because they are, as you point out, solo workers or family workers, and had a key worker being taken down by COVID, and the family had to go into isolation. There could have been severe problems in maintaining livestock welfare and maintaining farming. Fortunately, that didn't happen, but it was a big concern, and from my department's point of view, we were looking at contingency to help out on farms if key workers were taken out and there was no one or family there to carry out the processes. You can't just leave livestock. It has to be tended every day, sometimes 2 or 3 times a day, depending on what kind of livestock you're keeping.
The local restaurant industry and catering industry obviously suffered with having the lockdowns and people not being allowed to go out, but there's a bit more relaxation in it now, and I suppose this is where the local market comes into it, and helped, I suppose, by the VAT reduction that's been introduced.
Well, my department's responsible for planning, and we did relax enforcement in terms of allowing restaurants and pubs to repurpose. Some pubs had shops, local shops in them. Others did takeaway, restaurants the same. It wasn't a major substitute for the mainstream income, but it helped the community as well as their businesses maintain people in the process, and that they stood up to the mark, and local deliveries for people who are in isolation, things like that, all became part of community. I think one of the good things to come out of the crisis has been the community spirit, and it's been very evident, and everyone has helped everyone, and small businesses particularly have helped deliver where necessary and make sure. I mean, I phoned several people that I knew to make sure they were all right, and I think a lot of people have done that, and that applies to the farming community in general.
I suppose the forestry part comes under your remit as well. I mean, has that been affected much?
Well, forestry's gone on. We were concerned about staff welfare, making sure that at the beginning people were able to work with social distancing, but in general terms the forestry has gone on as normal, or as near normal as possible. We've been replanting, and we're starting on the community forest down at Maryveg, so things are proceeding. It's one of those areas where people work at distance from each other. It was not difficult. The sawmill had to close for a while, but that's picked up, and sales there are really skyrocketing at the moment. But I guess that's a measure of people catching up on fencing and whatever they're doing where they need timber.
So all in all, we've dealt with all these areas as best as possibly can under this unprecedented times, really.
I think we've done very well. We obviously contained the disease, and at the moment we're well over 40 days with no new cases, which is great, but we're living in a bit of an island bubble, and sooner or later there's going to have to be some interaction with the outside world. But the crisis is not over. Economically it's still affecting us badly, and of course we've got a bit of a double whammy coming down the line at the moment. Not only is there likely to be an economic impact that stays with us for some time, but we've got Brexit. It's still there. People sort of thought that it had gone away because of the pandemic. It hasn't, and there's a lot of activity, and my department's in the middle of that at the moment with the UK and the EU, and that has implications for the farming and fishing industry. Very profound possible impacts going long way forward. So we're in the midst of that at the moment.
Is that a concern, or a sort of a big challenge in a nice way for you and your department?
Well, it's a challenge for sure. The playing field moves around, or the goalposts move around all the time. I'm pleased to say that our opposite numbers in DEFA are keeping us in the loop, and I know the Chief Minister spends a lot of time speaking to people in government as well. But we're minnows in the scheme of things, so we have to make sure that our profile and our interests are protected when negotiations are taking place. Great concern to our fishing industry is access to UK waters, which includes the Isle of Man going forward. The London Convention has basically fallen, and the EU are obviously playing hardball on fishing, but at the same time I think the UK is resisting that, and I hope they continue to do that so that we get a good deal for the fishing industry, UK as well as island-wide.
The Minister for DEFA, Geoffrey, explaining how things are in the forestry, the fishery, the agriculture, the food side of the Isle of Man. It's a lot to cover in that department, isn't there?
It really is, and it was so important to get that right through this whole coronavirus situation. And I think Chief Minister Howard Quayle was a good help in seeing how important agriculture is. With being a farmer himself, they could relate and talk quite closely about how rules could be put in place for the agricultural sector in particular.
Yeah, and there's a lot of work to be done yet, and as Mr. Boot said there as well, he's sort of echoing our comments on it. That you just realise how important that the Manx people grow in just odd bits and pieces, but it helped to keep things going, didn't it, amongst these times? So.
That's right, and even like you say, what isn't grown on the Isle of Man, that ferry service out there, the steam packet, as much as it gets a ribbon and mezzer on there, they did deliver to this island and kept going through all of them times, and they must be commended as well.
Indeed. You're listening to Countryside here on Manx Radio with Kirree Kermode and myself, Simon Clark. Well, the shows have produced some great champions, the agricultural shows on the island. Sadly, they won't produce any. They'll be scrubbed off the list 2020 with the Southern Agricultural Show being cancelled and also the Royal Manx as well being cancelled for this year. But some fantastic news to one of the biggest supporters, the family are, from Ballacricket in Ronnig, Vicky Sloane-Masson and Neil Masson, who farm there. And you went along to find out more about a pretty prestigious honour that had been happening.
That's right, Vicky and Neil are very proud dairy farmers and they use the best of modern genetics, and along with their 2 children, Rianne and Alec, mad keen on the show ring and everything to do with presenting livestock. I popped along to Ballacricket to see how the year was going. Vicky, well, what a strange 2020. We've gone out of a lovely dry winter into, well, what can be classed as a unprecedented year. How has it been with the dairy farming so far?
Yeah, it's been a quite a strange season, really. It was real wet in the springtime, and then we had that really dry spell, which was a bit scary when nothing was growing. And we've been measuring grass on the grazing platform, and I've never seen the grass move up and down as much in my life. One week we had too much, next week we haven't got any, and it's just been like that, really.
And how does that affect the cows? Because obviously April was so dry, wasn't it? It just, does their yields totally drop off?
Well, we're lucky we did have silage left, so we've been topping up with silage and trying to keep the litres the same. And making sure that they've got grass in front of them, just holding them back off it a little bit and feeding in the trough, really. Yeah.
And obviously, end of March, our whole island completely changed with the coronavirus arriving. How has that affected the farming? Has it made a difference?
Farming at that time of year is very busy, so we kind of really just kept our head down and got on with it. It was a bit strange not seeing family and friends. And the kids being at home, homeschooling, that was a bit different. But apart from that, to be honest, it was much the same, really. Just kept busy, carving as well, so, we're always home anyway, and so, yeah.
I think a few people got a lot more jobs done. A lot of events got cancelled, and obviously, we've lost our Isle of Man shows as well. But farmers seem to do a lot more maintenance, a lot more, like you say, staff at home able to get on and help it and tidy up around the place. Farmers were kept busy. But with that, the loss of the shows, that will have quite a bit of an impact on the farmer community.
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of people were disappointed when the news came out that there was no shows, but also opened a lot more opportunities for us guys. We've been doing different things online, webinars and online shows and stock judging. So we've been kept busy, keep their minds busy.
but like you say, Vicky, online, it's opened up a whole new world, hasn't it? The shows, especially in the UK with them being cancelled, that's huge revenue lost. But to have those online competitions, everybody and anybody can take part.
Yeah, it was a big opportunity for us really to have something in milk to go against some UK people. Obviously, it's pretty impossible for us to get an in-milk animal to the UK to show. So I took that opportunity with both hands, and she did really well. So
she did really well. She did exceptionally well, Vicky. What show was that you took part in?
The Cheshire show, and she won her class and then went on to get the best cow. So.
And how did that feel? Like you say, with having to travel off the Isle of Man with livestock, it is really, really tricky. And obviously that cow's been a great success at our Manx shows. How did you feel about it all?
Getting her ready was a bit strange, knowing we weren't actually going anywhere. But good, really. It took a bit of enthusiasm to get her washed and ready for a show that you weren't going to. But at the end of the day, when we got her all ready and the pictures and the video done, and I felt really pleased that I'd gone to the effort, even though if she didn't get anywhere, it didn't really matter because we had them pictures to keep. So. Yeah.
And you say getting her ready. It isn't just the day before to get any animal ready for the show.
No, definitely not. Timing is everything. They've got to be right for the day. Start thinking about shows seriously in January, really. Picking your calves out and maybe separating them, feeding them differently. Pulling cows out at the end of milking and giving them that extra feed as well, and just the few little things that you do differently.
So I suppose when the news came of the lockdown, for you that's worked so hard through the winter months and the family at Bala Cricket, how did that feel?
I don't know really how it felt. It just felt a bit weird, really, that you weren't going to be putting that in, because that's what I've done every year and my whole life is get ready. You just fit it in the farming calendar, don't you? And for it not to be there, it was just a bit strange.
It is. It's such a shock, and the same for us with the sheep. You're ready through lambing time, lambing through February, and all those wild, horrible nights, and you're looking forward to getting your entries in April, and then to know the shows are cancelled. It is a massive blow, but it's the social side of it as well that you miss. Meeting friends, like you say, you're lucky on the internet. You're able to have webinars and talk to people, but it's nothing nicer than getting out and catching up with friends.
Yeah, some people you see at the show you only see once a year. They come up and see you at the cattle lines and catch up, and yeah.
And it's all the children that sort of get involved with it too, because you obviously have a lot of staff to help you, and like your own children, Alec and Rihanna, are so actively involved with the farming as well. It must be hard for that generation too.
I think it was quite scary for that generation too, with COVID, not knowing really what was going to happen, and nobody had an end date, did they? So that was quite scary for young people to try and explain that this was it for a while, and we don't know what's going to happen. Yeah.
But how do you feel that the Manx population have been in support of local produce?
I think they've been fantastic. Yeah, really, really good. Some of the comments on Facebook have been really humbling, really, to hear that, that we kept going as normal, and they supported us. So, and let's just hope it continues as well, because we still need them.
And how is the milk price affecting? Has it crashed? Has it come up or come down? Across the world, it seems to be in turmoil at the minute with coronavirus, but also just globally, the market trends are just altering all the time.
Yes, our milk price has dropped a little bit, just basically loss of sales really, especially in the cheese side. Hospitality just stopped overnight, and we took a little bit of a hit, but not as bad as some people in the rest of the world, so we've been quite lucky really.
And do you think that'll come back once England sort of gets itself sorted out a little bit more, travel may resume?
I hope so. I can't see why it shouldn't do. Cheese sales should start picking up again now, really.
Yeah. And people's buying habits, like obviously people stepped up on the Isle of Man, the creamery, Isle of Man meets the butcher shops, all of the local veg growers as well. Do you think people will continue to make an effort to buy local?
I hope so. I hope so, because it's a really good product. Our animal welfare standard on the Isle of Man is pretty high, and we should all be proud of that, and hopefully the general public will learn a bit more about it and hopefully support us on that.
And we've just had the news that the Isle of Man Food and Drink Festival is going to go ahead in September, so I suppose that's an opportunity for us to get out as an event on the island as well. It's so important to interact.
Yeah, it is. I was astonished. Someone told me the amount of numbers of people that actually go to that event. I couldn't believe it. But yeah, no, that's good. It gives everybody something to look forward to as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And normally you'd be there with stock as well, Vicky, having the children interact. And how important do you see the connection for children to learn about food production?
Oh, I think it's really important, especially now. I think the general public have got a little bit removed from where their food come from, and I really think that we should have food and agriculture taught in schools
Yeah, no, definitely. And for the future, Vicky, obviously your two children are keen and involved as well. This summer, obviously not finished. There'll be a lot more showing and online webinars and different things to come. Any plans?
We've entered another online show, the online Welsh show. So we're just waiting to hear back about that now. So yeah, that's all we've got planned so far.
But how important is showing to your enterprise? Is it something very important?
We see it as being really important for our business. We only have a small amount of cows compared to larger herds on the island. We take it as an income, really. It's a shop window, so it's really marketing for us. A lot of judges from the UK come over to judge the summer shows, and we like to present them as best as we can so they go home and tell other people, and hopefully we'll get some stock sales off that. Yeah.
On that side, and like you said about this social media, as much as it has its negative side, but as far as sales go and advertising your stock, you can have a page for your farm now on Facebook and Twitter and all these things. Do you see that as a benefit too now?
Yeah, definitely. What the calf show that we entered was actually judged by 5 judges from around the world. There was two from America, one from Canada, one from Italy and one from the UK. So to have all 5 judges see just one of our animals from the Isle of Man was really, really good.
Special,
yeah,
isn't it?
yeah.
That really is. And I know last year you took cattle over to the show in England. They're classes of 25, 30 calves, and you're in the top 10.
Yeah, that was a couple of years ago. We took 3 calves down to the All Breeds, All Britain calf show, all homebred, all to come out in the top 7. Couldn't have asked for any better than that.
So this is something that you definitely want to continue in your farming enterprise. You've been 10 years farming at Bolla Cricket now with your husband Neil and the children. This is something you want to carry on with?
Yes, definitely, yeah. Can't see it any other different in the next 10 years, can you? Just get better at it.
But like you say, you make friends from all around the world. You can travel with agriculture. People think you're just at home, just pushing a wheelbarrow around, doing nothing. But it is so important. There's so many opportunities that come with having pedigree stock.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's like your own extended family, isn't it, within the breed? Yeah, definitely.
With your All Breeds, All Britain sort of classes and competitions, would you ever do some of the bigger, more general shows like the Royal Highland or Great Yorkshire or that kind of show? Would that be something that would interest you?
Yes, it would. It would definitely. It's just the whole, we were real high herd health status, and the island is obviously TB free. So it's getting stock home, that's the problem. Easy to get there, it's just getting home is the bit that puts you off a little bit. But we'd really love to show in them at one day.
For the cattle that you use for showing, Vicky, it's so important that you keep up to date with the latest genetics, the trends or the fashion sort of changes within a breed. It seems to happen with the sheep world anyway, but would that be the same with the Holsteins?
Yeah. The Holsteins kind of went really tall and they focused on milk production. Some of the traits got forgotten, but now they're coming back for a more correct cow, a smaller, compact, wider cow that can go out and graze. And we're focusing on breeding cows like that for longevity as well. They suit our grass-based system a lot better, and I know it's there is a breed within a breed, and it's really important to keep the pedigree side.
So how would you go about picking new genetics? Like if you a different stock bull or whatever, would you use a lot of AI, or and how would you pick them?
We're all AI here. We don't own a bull, so all of our genetics will be coming from America and Canada, really. They've just got so much proof behind them. You can't get away from how good their stock is going to be. So yeah, it's important for us to be using all those top bulls that are going to be known down the line by everybody within the breed. So,
and I suppose that will back up what you're trying to do with your sales and make it, make yourself known within the Holstein world. But if you've got the genetics there, you're halfway there, aren't you?
Yeah, definitely. You just breed with the best and hope for the best is the motto.
So Neil, you've had a lifetime with the Holsteins as well at Bola Cricket, and how are you enjoying farming with your wife and the 2 children?
Well, during lockdown, there was the adage of lots of people spending time together that probably wouldn't be all day, but we together every day, all day, every day. Yeah, we've got some land out Dalby. Sometimes I'll go out there and it's a completely different day, and yeah, just get some headspace. But with the having the children at home was the biggest difference for the time. With the homeschooling, and yeah, the first fortnight was interesting to say the least. But once got into a routine, it just sort of clicked into place, and they were finished the schoolwork by dinner time, and then helping us around the farm. So yeah, it was nice, really. Yeah,
That's the thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
It must be so nice to have interest coming from the younger generations. It kind of makes you feel that what you're doing, is future proof.
Yeah, we're only here as tenants for the future generations, aren't we? We're only custodians of the land, and we're trying to make it as good and improve it. And if we weren't better than our fathers, we'd still be living in caves.
This is it.
So yeah, we're just trying to carry on and make the whole system better, really.
And that must be quite a nice thing to have yourself and Vicky with the same mindset, the same end goal, and you can bounce them ideas back and forward, but you ultimately are a team wanting to get to an end position.
Yeah, like Vicky's absolutely passionate about the breeding, and we'll take catalogues for nighttime reading, and I'm probably more mechanically minded, and so we sort of fill each other's gaps, work together like that, so, and grow crops and things. So she does her bit and I do my bit, and they seem to work. meet in the middle, and we'll help each other out, and yeah, we'll just sort of there's crossover there as well. Passions are the same, and the end goal is ultimately the same, is just to keep driving forward and get up there, sort of thing.
Once, Neil, you would have had sheep at the farm as well, but now you're solely concentrating on the Holsteins.
Yes, it's a bit challenging for calving and lambing time and milking, and it was just, well, they're saying age was getting on it.
Very much. Can't do it 100%, then I'd rather pass it on to someone that can. Yeah.
Because it does take a lot of time. Pedigree animals do take a lot of time, and that's the point of difference, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And the children weren't that keen on the sheep, really, and I think if we ever wanted to go back into it, I know where to head to get stock. So it's just one of those things, isn't it? You need to move on and don't just keep doing it because everyone expects you to be doing it as well.
Yeah, no, that's it.
If you can't do it properly, don't do it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So that's it, Vicky, on to the Welsh show for the end of summer, and then next year, any plans?
Yeah, probably will be. Come to January, it'll be looking for cows and young stock to start getting ready, and
And the first show for you will be Cheshire next year. Would you travel?
I don't know about that.
It'd be nice to see the young stock that we've sold coming through in the show rings in the UK. That's what we've sold. How many have we sold now?
About 3, haven't we?
Yeah, I've sold 3 calves, so they'll be starting to come through and on the show scene in the UK. So it's nice to see, and they'll always have the Kirree prefix, so it'll be nice to see them coming through in milk, and some of a little bit of glory, but it was none of the work.
That sounds like a good idea.
none of the show prep anyway. The breeding's always there, you see, and it's like to have the prefix on. That's it's always going to be there, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, and that's where you want to keep progressing, isn't it? Get your name out there, and it's something you're very proud of, isn't it? When you're standing at a ringside watching somebody else with stock that you've bred, you know you're on the right road.
Yes, yeah, ultimately that's to have somebody that have something in the ring that's that's been bred here and it does well in the UK or further afield because they've been to Belgium and they've been to Italy, and they do take classes all around Europe, don't they, as well? So that would be nice. That would be something else.
Vicky, how important is it to take part in agricultural shows? Not just on the Isle of Man. Obviously, you're a great contender in the UK as well.
It's important for our business. I suppose it's kind of like our diversification. We can't just rely on that milk check. We need some other form of income, and it's obviously a passion of ours. So it's quite easy to breed cattle that other people want as well, hopefully, and make a bit of extra income for the farm.
And that's it. And obviously, after this success you've just had at the Cheshire Show as well, you've now appeared in the International Holstein magazine. That in itself is a huge success.
It is, because obviously people from all around the world is going to read that. So it's a good little advert for the island too. This little cow in the middle of the Irish Sea has made it into an international magazine. So yeah, I was really proud to get that phone call. I didn't quite believe it until I seen it in the magazine. So we didn't really tell anyone until the actual proof came. So,
but it is a fantastic photograph of her as well.
Yeah, it's a couple of years old, that photograph. We had a professional photographer come over to the island to take a picture of a couple of cows, and so glad we did. We were hoping to get that this year, and obviously with the way things are, nobody's allowed to travel here, and so we've kind of missed the opportunity with it, but hopefully next year we can get that sorted again. So yeah.
That was Vicky and Neil Sloane-Masson from Bolla Cricket there in Ronagh.
And wonderful picture on that poster on that magazine that they'd scooped that wonderful prize, all done online as well. So it just shows you, the look of the animal is so important, isn't it?
It really is, and the effort that they went to as a team to get a decent photograph and a decent video on farm. In the middle of sort of May time when it's not usually shown, all getting done up in their whites to present that cow for a big class at that Cheshire competition, and to come out with a top award from a little island here is just fantastic. But their attention to detail is really coming through now, and to see their stock going away to other breeders in the UK and again competing for those breeders is something they should be very, very proud of.
Yeah, and they're not alone in that. They are such carers of their animals and such passion, like a lot of the livestock showers and producers on the Isle of Man are. That's
right. The shows here are some of the most fiercely contended classes across the UK, I would say. Some great stock turned out on this island, whether it's beef, sheep, horses, poultry, whatever it is so much great pride. And we will miss those shows this summer. A great day out for all of us just to catch up with one another, if nothing else. But a great success. A small island producing stock like that, it's great honour.
Yeah, and odd weather we had, of course, as well this year, haven't we? With the mightiest thunderstorm we've had for many a year too.
That's right, and all that dry spell in April. I don't think I've ever been sunburnt in April or got the sheep sheared so early, but it has been bizarre. Whether the aviation has anything to do with it or the lack of, I'm not sure.
Oh, now you're stirring up a conspiracy theory. Anyway, if you have anything you wish to feature on Countryside, drop us a line. You leave a message here at Manx Radio for Kirree Kermode or myself, Simon Clark, and we'll get back in touch with it. Or you can send an email in to countryside@manxradio.com and we can feature your event. So we'll leave it there for this week's Countryside. We're back next Tuesday with more. So from me, Simon Clark.
And me, Kirree Kermode.
We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.